gang, Nikki at Bunny Crafts Oxford here with another die with my video, and I'm in front of the camera, and that's because I didn't want you to stare at an empty pan of yarn for as long as it takes me to explain what we're going to do today. So I came across this video on the internet called Brown, It's a Weird Colour. It's by Technology Connections and I will link it down below. Anyone that's a bit nerdy and likes just sort of all sorts of weird facts and technical bits and pieces and technology, subscribe to their channel. They're so funny, it's a lot of fun. So, brown. Turns out, when you have a look at colour theory, brown doesn't exist. Brown is not a colour, not like red or blue or green. So brown is technically dark orange. And that got me thinking, can we make brown using orange and black? As you see, I'm already prepared. This is going to take some precision work, which I am not known for. I just like slapping things together, dropping them in the pot and seeing what happens. So I'm going to tie up my hair. I'm going to turn the camera around. We're going to figure out a quick ratio that is going to be our starting point. And we're going to be working with 1% orange, well, pumpkin orange by Jacquard, and 1% true black by Jacquard as well. I have pre-mixed all of the colours, and we're going to use some jars that I have and some minis and try and see if we can get a gradient from orange to some sort of brown or even black if we put too much black in it. It's going to be one of those Nikki experiments, so part of me just expects it to go horribly wrong and still have awesome looking yarn at the end. And part of me really hopes this works, because I think brown is one of those colours that can be quite difficult to find just the right brown. So if you know how much yellow and how much red and how much black to add to create a brown that you want, why not? Probably need to put some blue or green in there as well at some point if you wanted a warmer or colder version of brown, but we're not doing that today. We're just going to figure out whether we can get brown from orange and black. So I'll be back in a second, and you'll be facing the right way and not looking at my spotty face. I hate masks. That's all I'm going to say. I use them because it's the right thing to do, but they still make me spotty. See you in a second. Alrighty, I have zoomed you in, and I have these two little pots here, and they have the same amount of water, which is a couple of tablespoons. So I'm going to, where's my teaspoon? There's my teaspoon. Take my 1% solution here. I'm going to give it a quick mix, just in case. I've mixed it well, it's done with hot water, it's fresh solution, but you know. So we're going to put 1 teaspoon of orange into both of those little pots. Then we're going to just rinse this out to get the orange. Spray absolutely everywhere. And then in this one we're going to put 1 teaspoon. So it's going to be a 1-to-1 ratio. So we're going to put 1 teaspoon of true black. Which again, I'm going to give it a good stir. So 1 teaspoon of true black. Just going to wipe this for now. And then we're going to put 1/2 teaspoon. So it will be a 2-to-1 ratio. I'm going to see what we get, how dark it is, and it will kind of give us our starting point. And how we're going to find out what colour it is. We will get some kitchen paper. I'm recording, aren't I? Yes. I had that horrible moment of like, oh my god. So we have some kitchen paper, and we're going to dip finger. That's not very pigmented, is it? Dip finger. And that's just yellow and black. Okay. So let's add 1 more teaspoon of orange in both. So it's 2 to 1 and 4 to 1. Give it a good stir. I'm going to use a spoon this time to do the droppings. So that is looking a little bit brown. Okay, let's wipe this. Well, that is definitely looking brown. Can you see that? Okay. So that seems a lot cooler, more going towards sort of grey, yellow. Obviously we're getting a bit of, so you can see the colours breaking as well. You can see the black in the middle with the sort of yellow leaching out and the red pigment sort of mixing with the black. But we're going to start, considering we have 20 grams of yarn. What am I going to do with these two? I'm going to decide later. I'll put them aside. So let me get you back to a normal zoomy. There we go. Here are our jars. And there's a little bit of water in each, just so that I can mix the colours easier. We're then going to put the skeins in once I've decided what the colour ratio is going to be. And again, I don't have syringes, so I'm being precise in the way that I'm using my measuring spoons. Now on my measuring spoons, I do actually have, if you can see it, yes you can, how many milliliters each measuring spoon is. So I'm going to start with 1 tablespoon in each one, and the half of 1 tablespoon is 1/2 tablespoon, which I do actually have. So I can do a 1-to-1 using the tablespoon and the half tablespoon as well. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have to say as well, this is the absolute last of my pumpkin orange. So if I mess this up and I have to reset, I will let you know. And I'm going to have to mix my own orange from some yellow and some red, which is going to be a nightmare because I was hoping to not have to mix too much. Well, I'm hoping to not have to mix. So let's not, you know, I mean, it'd be nice if we can use all of this up. That was about 200 milliliters. So I want the orange to be the same in all of the jars. So I'm going to put another 1/2 teaspoon. And essentially what I'm going to try and do is equally distribute all of this orange between the jars. And then based on how many teaspoons versus 1/2 teaspoons we've ended up with, we're going to decide how much black to put in each one. So I can go for another 1/2 teaspoon. So we're ending up with 2 tablespoons, not teaspoons, tablespoons. I'm finding that really, really difficult. Like even when I cook and I try and write recipes down when I come up with my own recipes, I find it quite hard to make the difference between the tusp and the tubs or whatever it is. Okay, so we still have a little bit left. So I'm going to Do I have enough for 1/2 teaspoon? Maybe. But I'm a little bit cautious today because I'm trying to be precise. Which again, not something I'm very good at. So we're going to go back. Then we're going to, oh, English, Nikki, English. We're going to go down to using teaspoons. So we have 2 tablespoons in here already, and we're now going to add a teaspoon in each one. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I'm going to go back up with the teaspoons. So we're going to have 2 teaspoons in each one, because we definitely do have that. Yay! Oh, we're so close. But there's just, I'm just going to do that. Be careful. There we go. So we have the tiniest bit left. So we're just going to add that to one of those pots that we had. There we go. Going to go to rinse that out, because we don't want to waste any of that lovely orange. And we can put that in here and see what colour we come up with. Okay, so I combined those 2 little pots in here, and I'm just really curious to see what we ended up with. We ended up with like an extra teaspoon of something in there, of orange. And it's just this sort of weird browny yellow, which is fair enough. Also, the way that we're going to cook these is I've got my pot over here, and we're going to put them in the basket and bain-marie them, give them a good bath. Okay, so we have 2 tablespoons and 2 teaspoons in here. I'm gonna use one of these to just give it a quick stir. And you can see why I didn't put too much water in the jars already. I didn't want, wasn't sure how much water I was going to be adding with the dye. So I just wanted to be on the safe side. Just need to clean my work surface a little bit so I don't make mistakes. Need to keep this away. Okay, so I'm gonna have this with the least amount of black and this with the most amount of black. And I'm going to pause this for a second because I need to do some maths as I'm thinking. Okay, did some maths. Messed it up first time around. And that's just because I forgot my multiplication tables. So what we put in here based on how many milliliters is in each teaspoon is tablespoon, teaspoon, whatever, is 2 lots of 15, because we had 1 full one and then 2 7.5 I'm trying to see if we can focus. And then we put 2 lots of 5. That comes to 40 milliliters of orange dye. So the last one is going to be a 1-to-1 ratio, and the first one, 40 divided by 5, because there's 5 jars, is going to be 8 milliliters. Now that's going to be a little bit difficult because I have 7.5 focus already, but I haven't got 8. So I need to sort of work with this one and the 2.5 milliliters and kind of do half. Or we can be a milliliter out. I think with the amount of volume we're talking, it may not, it's not even a milliliter, it's half a milliliter. I don't think it's going to make that big of a difference, but essentially we need 8, 16, 24, 32 and 40 along the lot. So I'm going to start with that one because that one's easy, and literally just do 2 of these. One. I'm already spraying everywhere. 2, and then 2 teaspoons because they're 5 milliliters and it is easy to count them. 1, 2. Why didn't my little wipey thing go? There it is. Now I'm just going to use that to wipe because it is bothering me. So then in this one, which is going to be second to first or last, whatever you want to call it, we need 16 milliliters. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one of, can I do 16? Not easily. No. I was just wondering whether there's some sort of math magic I can do, but not really. So we're going to do one of these. And then I'm going to take the smallest one, which is a 2.5, and try and kind of get a tiny little bit so it's not full, and just dump it in there, and that'll be fine. And then because we need 8 in here, we're going to do, oh no, I don't need 8 in there. I want one that's just orange. Do I want one that's just orange? I don't know. No, I have a skein. Well, I have a little baby jumper that's made from a skein. I don't know whether I have the actual skein. That is 1% orange. So we have something to compare this to that is a 1% orange solution. So I'm going to stick with my, so there's a little bit there. And then I need 7.5. Yeah. And pop that in there. I'm just going to do a bit of a stir and then I'm going to wipe it clean. So we've done the 8, we've done the 16, we've done the 40. Now we need to do 32, which is going to be almost easy. So that's 32. And that's 2 of these, which is 30. 1, 2, and then an almost full one of these. Almost full one of these. There we go. That's our 32, and now we need 24. This is going to do 24. I'm just going to use these. So 4 of these will make 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I need another 4, so I'm just gonna have a not so full version of this one. 5. Okay, let me wash these. And then I'm gonna go from the brightest to the darkest and just give them a good stir. And then we're going to take another lot of kitchen paper. Give it a good fold. And check our progression just because we're curious. We'll see it when we put the yarn in there as well, but so we have something that looks quite brown. some darker. So at least we can see it is getting darker. So the last couple might be quite similar, I wonder. Okay, so we do have a progression. It is looking brown on the paper. There's a little bit of sort of bluish hue to this one, so yeah, I'm very curious to see what it's going to look like on the yarn. Now, there is no citric acid in here or vinegar or any acid, and I am actually going to use I'm going to cover the label, even though some of you might know, some white distilled vinegar, because it's just easier, and I'm just going to start with a tablespoon and then work my way through. Let's get our yarn. So I have 5 minis here. They are 20 gram minis. I had these labels already made from the fade we attempted, so I'll link the video for the attempted fade in the iCard and below, and this one says W1, so that's going to go in there, so it'll be W1 to W5 going into different colors. The minis are 20 grams, 80% merino, 20% nylon. They are quite high twist, and I don't expect to have brilliant coverage, but I hope to get a decent sort of tono at least. And they were pre-soaked for about 2 hours. No vinegar, just plain tap water. I think my tap water is a little bit acidic, but it's not too bad. It does have a lot of calcium in it. Okay, so we're going to start with this one. I'm just going to pop them in, move them around a little bit, and just put them all in, and then we'll have a look to see what we're getting. I'll top them up with water as needed. I'll just add a little bit of water now, and then just move it through again. It looks sort of brown, but not brown. I think so. The thing with the orange as well is it's a very strange colour. It absorbs in a very weird way. A lot of the red pigments go first, and then it's left with a lot of yellow, and then as the yellow absorbs, the colour changes. So there is that to sort of contend with as well. So just moving it around a bit. Top this one up. Oh, nearly knocked all my black. And the volume of water doesn't really matter in this case. It's quite a small space that we're working with. So what really matters is the amount of dye that we have in there. That's 3. That's coming up green. How interesting. Let's top up some water. And this is the other thing that I kind of half expected. So again, it's not going to be a failure, it's just going to be us understanding how the pigments work. Is black is made out of, there's a lot of red in it, there's a lot of blue in it, because when you speckle with black, you will get these red and blue speckles when the dye breaks. So it'll be interesting to see how those will inform the colours and whether we're going to get something that looks quite green on camera. And to my eye, actually. Right, number 4. Oh, number 4's got a bit of a tangle. There you go. these bigger jars are much easier to work with. Oh, this is like a really interesting green. I love this. It's just so much fun. So I think it's what we're going to learn is that there is a ratio where you do get brown, and then going past that ratio, you start going into sort of mossy greens, possibly. I ain't mad at that, because there's some greens that I would like to be able to achieve, but I can't, and they don't really have them. And so if I learn how to make those, oh, that's very, very pretty. I will bring these all up for you to have a look at in a minute, and make the camera easier to see. I just don't have a better spot for it at the moment. Okay, and the water that I'm putting is actually quite warm. So we'll see, you can see striking, but without the vinegar we're not going to see a lot of striking. So what I'm going to do is try and bring this down a little bit. Oh, sorry. Let me pause this and readjust. Okay, so I'm just going to bring the jars up. Oh, we're leaking a bit because I spilled. And they are, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is what it looks like. This is the colour that we're getting. There's quite a sort of yellowy brown. There is a lot of pigment in here that has something between orange and brown, burnt orange maybe. This is number 2. It's a lot more greeny colour to it already. There is a brown to it, but it has slight hints of green, and the colour that we've got left in there is genuinely quite brown looking. Number 3 is when we start to get really into the green ones. So when you have a look, and I'm sorry for the reflection, I can't really, there's sun for once, so I'm not going to apologise for that. But when we get the yarn out, there is this green hue to it. You can absolutely see it is actually quite true on the camera, which also is a change for once. This is just looking moss brown, moss green. The water is quite brown in there. The colour we have is a greeny brown. So I wonder whether as the remaining yellow pigments that are in here go in, it will turn more brown. So far, let me see if I can get some white, and I'll show you. Against a white background, the green we're getting. So you can see that, and you can see there's yellowy green pigments coming off, which I find fascinating. And finally, very, very dark, still quite browny water, and it's a grey green, but it is a green. These are going to be much better visible, obviously. It depends, like it changes. I love that it changes in the light. So these are going to be much more visible once they're dry, and we actually get a true colour from them as well. What I'm going to do now is add a tablespoon of vinegar to each one. I'm going to do 2 at a time. I'm just going to move them up and down to move the acid through. Oh, that's vinegary. It's easier to do just one at a time and move the acid through. And the reason why I don't just want to dump the vinegar in to all of them and then move them through is I don't want colour to strike at the top where the vinegar is quicker than it does at the bottom, because the water is warm. And my experience with Jacquard dyes is that they do sometimes strike quite quickly. Wow, this is proper green. It's really pretty. Sorry, I have got into the habit of just humming to myself as I do work or editing or anything like that. Tom finds it really funny. You just come in and I'll just be making my own songs. I think it's because I've also spent quite a few days recently with my niece, which has been amazing. And she sort of hums to herself all the time. So I picked up that wonderful habit from her. Okay, so I'm just going to go and warm up some water. I'm going to clean up some of the spillages, because there are spillages. And I'm going to put them in the pot, and then I will show you how I've arranged them in the pot, how much water I've put in, and we'll talk about how long we are going to warm these up for, heat these up. Okay, so I remember this now from last time I did one of these videos, and I've only actually done one where I've had things in smaller jars and then in the pot. And I remember that my pasta insert is actually just a little bit, let me just bring it over so you can see. That's really heavy. It comes in and therefore I can't quite fit the jars, and it just comes in so that I could fit it fits into the pot. So I have covered the jars with water to just under the lip of the smaller jars. These jars are not that much taller, and actually the amount of water seems to be matching them okay. So yeah, what we're going to do is I'm going to put this on low to medium. So I have, you can see I have like these, they're not actually convection hobs, they're just a normal hob but with a glass surface rather than that iron surface that you have with the enamel. So I'm going to put those on 4, which I think is kind of halfway up. Most heat scales, they go up to 9, and give them 20 minutes. If it gets too bubbly and I hear them rattling, I'll turn it down. I will cover it as well to get as much heat in here as possible without actually cracking the jars or anything. They are heat safe, I checked, but still. And then after 20 minutes, we'll come back and check to see whether we have any colour left. And if we do, we'll add a bit more citric acid and give them another 10 minutes. So I'll see you in about 20 minutes when these have had a good heat. Well, I'm going to say half an hour because it's going to take about 10 minutes for it to come up to temperature as well. So here are our results, and you can see we have a brown gradient. It gets progressively cooler in my mind and progressively closer to black than it does to brown, but I mean that makes sense considering the colors that we used. I have to say, while I expected to get brown, I did not expect it to be quite this successful. I think you may have heard me at the beginning of the video talking about not really knowing whether this would work. I think out of all of these, this sort of a light brown, almost burnt orange is my favorite. And just for comparison, I will bring something that is actually 1% dusty orange. So let me just go grab that because it's right over there and I didn't actually pick it up. Okay, so here is our 1% orange. And so this is a little baby sweater design that I've been working on. You can ignore that, but this is the orange. So while we didn't necessarily have 1%, well, I guess we did kind of have 1% orange in most of it. How much? I forgot how much orange we put. We did have quite a lot of orange though, considering that we put many tablespoons. So we did start off with quite a bright orange. I completely forgot to do the math. I meant to, and I forgot, and I'm really, really sorry. If I have time in the editing, I'll try and pop it in the comments below in the video introduction section. But so this is our orange, and this is the various browns that we started off with. So you can see it's very, very muted, and actually when I remove this, the color balance goes a bit different because the camera's just trying to adjust for the brightness of this. And I'm knocking it over and I'm moving things around. So I'm going to skein these up. You can see they're quite tonal. I'm going to go and skein these up so you can see them in the little skein progression. It's a little bit easier to see. The one thing that I wanted to point out beforehand is with this one, what we ended up having is it's a lot brighter at the top than it is at the bottom. So because we had these with the ties on the top of the jar, I'm just guessing that it just absorbed a lot more colour at the bottom half, and therefore it's just a little bit lighter, and it gets a little bit closer to this than to this. But I'll be back in a second with these all into their little mini skeins. Okay, so here are the little skeins. Here is my leg. I'm not gonna lie, I'm really struggling with my back at the moment. I'm getting a lot of pain in my lower back. I do have a bit of sciatica, which came from a sports injury about 3 or 4 years ago. So it can be quite difficult sometimes to just sit down on the floor without a lot of back support, but it's good for my back and my core. I'm trying to keep it strengthened. Anyway, not what we're talking about, is it? So a couple of things I wanted to talk about. The orange that we started off with, the pumpkin orange, it's a beautiful, bright, lovely orange, as you can see. This is quite tonal, so you can see it gets quite glazes quite nicely, actually. You can see it can get just really, really bright and lovely, and we've used it in other in lots of other projects actually, but a lot of those are variegated. So I'm currently looking at my yarn wall and going, nope, that's variegated, so I can't guarantee that that's not mixed with any of the other colours. So we have that, and so that has a lot of yellow pigment in it. A lot. And so when you are creating these browns, you're going to start going towards a sort of olivey brown. I mean, if I was to bring this up closer up, and I'll bring them all closer up, but this is the one in the middle, and this is the one that most makes me think olive green to brown. There is a brownness to it, but there is also just this olive green color that we have, and it gets more and more similar. So this is a very sort of olive green brown, and this is just a darker version. You can see the black pigments just sort of around where my thumb is over here, and you can see the orange as well just kind of coming through, and it'd be quite interesting to dye the mix that we had to see how and when it will break. Now, a couple of things that I'm pondering about and that I might try in other videos once I order some more of the pumpkin orange, because I have no orange. I mean, I can make my own orange. I have yellow and I have various versions of red, so I can make orange, but will it work the same way as using a pre-mixed orange is my quandary, because we know colours break. So my wonder is, would it break into the red and the yellow pigments as they strike at very different rates? So my thought, and I'll tell you why I'm thinking this once I've said it, is if you want to counterbalance and actually push this more towards a proper brown, sort of, we're talking chocolate, coffee, that kind of thing, you would need to add a blue pigment. And this is why I'm thinking that. So this is a oh, I'm going to have to really play with the color balance on this once I get it in post-production. So this is a skein of speckled olive brown from Jacquard, and you can see the red pigments, and you can very much see the blue pigments. You can see the lovely yellow and brown, and you can see where it goes purple. So when you speckle with this color, and Rebecca from Chemnitz has a brilliant video of speckling with this color and coming up with a colorway that's very similar to this. In fact, it's probably identical to this because we used the same technique. You will see, oh, my hair again. You can see how this breaks, and it breaks in the most fantastical way. You can see there's yellows, there's blues, there's reds, and those mix and do all sorts of wonderful things. So looking at this, looking at how this brown is created, and I don't actually have a tonal or semi-solid version of this color, so I probably should do that as well. I think I might have a dip-dyed version of this color where I try to break it, but it's in a mini skein somewhere. I don't remember where that mini skein is. It'll be somewhere in the giant pile just over there of mini skeins. And you'll get to see a video of this room soon, actually, in its current state, which is a complete and total chaos. And then once I've decided how I'm going to organize it, and I'm going to do a bit of a show and tell of my yarn stash and a few projects and stuff. So hopefully that will be coming up in the next few weeks. But yeah, so this is what I was thinking, that blue and adding blue to this premix will really, I mean, it will shift this color, but it will shift it to a more true brown, as it were, rather than this sort of olivey version of it. I absolutely love this. I think this is so pretty. It's sort of burnt orangey brown, and I really like this one as well. I think the two together are great. I have plans for these skeins, so maybe towards the middle of the year we can do another catch up of what I've been up to with all of the different yarn that I've dyed, provided I haven't put it up on the shop and sold it. Because in the previous video as well, where we were trying to mix green, spruce green and Cabernet, I had a very specific project for that yarn as well. So the yarn that I'm currently dyeing is both to show you what you can and can't do with certain color mixing, or not even show you, just discover with you along the way, but also I'm dyeing it with a certain purpose. So yeah, I think I might try and do something similar to this, where I add blue to some of it, or not. I will see how my plans go. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I really hope that you can see the possibilities with just a little bit of math, and you can put all of this in a spreadsheet as well, and it will sort of spit things out for you by multiplying it by 0.0 or by 1.5 or by 2, and it'll kind of give you the different ratios, so that you just know, right, I need 10 milliliters of this, 20 of that, and 15 of the other. If you are going to be playing with things like that, I would highly suggest that you try and get syringes that are progressive in size. So from something like a 5 milliliter syringe to the big, almost 100 milliliter ones that are just sort of that thick. They'll give you a precision in mixing your colors that I didn't have 100% here. I think we got very close with our measuring spoons. So if you're not precious like me, then great. But if it is a recipe that you're doing as part of your yarn dyeing business, if you're new to yarn dyeing and you want to turn yarn dyeing into business, and you want to have your own very unique, very specific to you colors, then recipes are incredibly important. Measurements are incredibly important. I will try and see if I can find my little scales that I have. There are micro scales, so they measure to the 0.01 gram, so it is ridiculously precise. And link that in the video description below. But as someone that isn't very precise in my videos, as most of you that are coming back will know, I just wanted to highlight that if you do want to have particular mixes that you've made yourself, and you're quite new to this, then you will need to be precise if you want to be able to recreate that color. And especially if it's something that you're going to put in your shop, recreating and testing that you can successfully recreate that color mix and get a similar color shade or as close to as possible is very important. The other thing that's very important is if you're going to do the same color shade on different types of yarn, or fiber content within the yarn, then it's also important to swatch that almost, so to have mini skeins and to find out how each one will look, because the different types of wool, the different types of breeds of sheep will absorb color differently. They have different tones. They're not just white. Even when it's bleached, it's not pure white. I can sit there and look at my bamboo merino versus my cashmere merino versus my merino nylon. They're all bleached. They all have the same content of merino, 80% across the board, and they're all a different shade of white, and that will make the end product different. So there is a lot of math, a lot of calculations, a lot of considerations when you're doing things like that. If you're doing fade sets as well, again, maths is something that goes all the way, as I found out in my failed attempt of doing a fade set, and I'll try and link that below as well. I sort of got a semi-fade set between the two fade sets that we did. I could get a fade if I mixed the 10 and pick 5 out of the 10 the 10 skeins, mini skeins we dyed. But yeah, anyway, I think I'm just rambling, because looking at this, my brain is literally going a million miles an hour at the moment with ideas and with other mixes I want to do, and with how to knit colors like this and how to combine colors like this, which can be quite cold and quite dull, and lots of people hate brown, with and I don't think brown is a color to be hated. I think brown has its own place and its own use. But yeah, oh my god, the possibilities. It'll be interesting to see how my tiredness progresses as the year progresses as well, because I've obviously had the Christmas break still quite recently, so let's see if my enthusiasm lasts, shall we? Anyway, I'm done rambling. I want to say thank you very much for joining me for another video. Oh my god, I rambled for 15 minutes. So thank you very much. If you enjoyed this video, hit the thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, then yeah, I'm quite verbose, but subscribe anyway. And if you want to support the channel further, you can do so in several ways. The best way is like the video, subscribe, comment, just interact with me on here, because then YouTube is generous. The other way is you can buy me a coffee, or you can buy some of my yarns by going to the links in the shop below, in the video description below. So thank you very much. I love you all, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.